Zelazny might have a run here. He pulls up. 2 laps to go at Auto Club Speedway. What a run this has been. 5 cars out front just dancing around for the lead. Salas back to the bottom. Honeycutt stuck up top. Slide job out of Salas. Crossover out of Honeycutt.
23 showing a big run here. He does.
You see Salas starting to cover it up. He goes up the racetrack. Honeycutt's clear of them both. He shoves it up in front of the 23, gets himself loose. It'll be white flag this time by. Salas down low. Zelazny looking for a hole. Side by side, 3 wide, Coffee in it. White flag is in the air. 1 lap to go. Brought to you by Whiplash Sim Cams. Who is going to win the Luke's Playhouse 200? Honeycutt controlling the race. Coffee in second. Tires are aging. Zelazny off the top rope. Got a little bit free. He's going to crash with lights. And yes, wall there. Who knows? Honeycutt, though, leading the race. Can Coffee get a run? He's going to send it. He hits him. Big bump and run. Coffee's gonna try and get away. Can Salas get there? Coffee's gonna crash. Salas is gonna crash. Watch Nick Lights here to the stripe. Salas is gonna do it with no front bumper.
Unbelievable.
Wow. There's the white flag from Barney the Flagman. 1 lap to go at Long Beach. White flag is out, brought to you by Whiplash Sim Cams.
Yeah, can really hold him off. He looked like he's started to gap Cantonio just ever so slightly. Got about half of a second. It's been hovering right around there. Oh, Cantonio really pushing. He's sideways out of turn number 1. But Rayleigh just keeping that car pointed in the right direction. Nice and smooth, able to keep it going. It's going to be tough. Antonio knows that there's not very many chances, even if he can get close enough to him to make a move. So we'll see as they come through 6 and 7, head toward turn 8 onto the backstretch.
Deeper in the field, nothing changing. Lap traffic ahead. It's Kevin Peak and Bradley Alvis right in front of our race leaders down East Seaside Way. And to turn number 9 for the final time. Lap traffic in the way, and Rayleigh goes for it on Peak. He sends it into turn 9. He knows he can't wait. He knows he can't give an opportunity to Kevin Cantonio. Cantonio's going to take it anyway. Ships it into the hairpin, and Rayleigh's going to get away. Thomas Rayleigh is going to be a race winner in the North American Racing League. A last lap bump and run wasn't enough. This man wins at Long Beach.
Wow, what a finish coming through that hairpin. I thought they were all going to wad it up. We had lap traffic in there, staying in there.
Typically, racing and racetracks are kind of dominated by countries like the USA, Brazil, the UK, Italy, even Germany, Japan, Belgium, and Spain. Just to the south of the lower 48, however, Mexico has its own premier racing circuit, and it's finally made its way to iRacing. Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez is a top-class racing venue with a handful of configurations that have been raced on by top global racing series, including now NASCAR alongside Formula One, and we're adding a virtual one here tonight. Welcome to Pit Stop TV in the virtual Mexico City. Of course, my name is Andrew Cardinale IV. I've got Zach Lindgren back alongside this evening, and it's a pleasure to join you for continuing coverage of the North American Racing League here in season number 9 of GT3 Racing. Tonight's coverage from Mexico City is brought to you by Baradness, by JS Consulting, and by Screw Compressor Service Incorporated. And Zach, I am genuinely so excited for this race and next week again as well. This racetrack being on the schedule is like a dream come true to me. I don't know what it is about this racetrack that I just jive with so much, but I really do like this racetrack, both as a fan watching the NASCAR races here last year and as a sim racer, just getting to cut some laps here earlier. I mean, it doesn't matter if I've done it in an Indy car, a GT3 car, a NASCAR Xfinity Series car. I have loved every lap that I've taken around here in any car. It is just a really fun track to race, in my opinion.
Well, I'm going to have to take your opinion for it, Andrew, just because I think we were talking beforehand that I legitimately had to buy this track about 15 minutes ago. But, I mean, look at from the track map here. It looks super racy. Obviously, the long front stretch from 17 all the way down into 1. The long stretch from 3 all the way back up to 4. The S's from 7 to 11. And then into... arguably, listen, I may have bought this track about 15 minutes ago, but you can't ignore the stadium part of this track. 12, 13, 14, 15, and then back out of it in 16. This is a very technical part of the track, but it also produces such good racing because it's so low speed. It keeps everybody together. So, honestly, I'm gonna have to take your word for it. I've only watched maybe 2 or 3 races of it, but I'm excited for what this track has to offer and produce.
For the most part, I will save everybody from some attempts at Spanish, but I can tell you, Recta Principal, I'm going to go with. I know it's a little bit off, but that's just, of course, the main straight into turn 1. That is how passes are going to largely be made tonight. That long straightaway out of 17 into turn 1, which actually means Zach Peraltada, turn 17, is one of the most important corners on the entire racetrack. You've got... Absolutely. And honestly, I even backed it up to 16, leaving the stadium section. Those two, that little continuous swing to the right is the most important section of the racetrack, in my opinion, all night long. It's going to set up all of your lap times, whether it's qualifying or racing, and all of your runs down to turn number 1. It's also going to defend from guys behind you trying to get a draft up and pass you. So that is where these guys need to focus on getting the power down smoothly and getting a good run down the front straightaway. Of course, from 3 to 4, also you stretch your legs a little bit, but not quite as long, certainly, as the front stretch. I really enjoy that kind of Grand Prix section up there. It's kind of a pseudo stadium section up at turns 4, 5, and 6. I enjoy that personally. I'm not sure why NASCAR cut it out, honestly, because I feel like it really suits the stock cars pretty well. But in these GT3 cars, it's going to be slow. It's going to be really hard for these guys to pace themselves through those corners specifically. And then it's high downforce sweepers through 7, 8, 9, and the S's. And turn 9 is really challenging because you're on the outside of turn 8 into 9. So it's really funky is the word I would use there, through the S's into turn 9. And then again, pretty important through 10 and 11, back around to turn number 12. Foro Sol is a lot of fun. That's the stadium section, and that is just peak racetrack engineering, in my opinion. Let's get into point standings really quick as qualifying begins. We, of course, have the 2 classes to go through here on a Thursday evening. We've got our pros out tonight. Ralph Benitez now on top of the standings with no wins yet to his name. Juan Blena in second, Jackson Rosende in third. Ralph and Jackson winless. Juan has one there, 3 back of the leader, Ralph Benitez. But Dino Filippa has slipped all the way down to 4th place, and that... I know it's still early, Zach. Tonight, Mark's halfway in the season. I'm not saying it's, at all time for Dino to panic, but I would have expected him to be higher, is all I'm saying.
No, absolutely, especially with 2 wins on the dot. Okay, you see Nicholas Rubelar down there in 8th with 2 wins as well, but, I mean, we've talked about Dino Filippo. He had a catastrophically bad week last week, if I'm remembering correctly.
It was rough.
Slipped back through the pack, had to come back up through it, and then had to slip back again. And I think even though wins are a huge factor, it also goes to show that consistency is arguably the most key. Ralph Benitez, Jackson Resende up within 12 points of each other, with Benitez being the leader, Resende being 12 points behind with no wins, but they are still both of them really high contenders. Obviously Benitez with the lead, so it just goes to show that consistency, whether you have a good night or a bad night, if you're able to rebound pretty decently, maybe not get a top 5, top 3 finish, but if you're able to get a top 10 or somewhere close, you're still able to put points on the board. So with, like you said, with Dino Filippo slipping back like that, we're arguably at the middle part of the season. We are quite literally at 50% for this racetrack, so now's the time. If you're going to slip back, now's the time you need to jump back real quick.
And moving over to the Pro-Am side, here's a look at those standings. Much more spread apart at the top, and usually it's the other way around. Noel Moron has just dominated so far down in Pro-Am. Granted, he's only got the 1 race win. Miguel Colon has done great for himself, but just is not up there with the 28, and nobody else is either. So this Pro-Am class, it's been very wide open. You see the wins are really spread out all the way down to 10th place, with Eduardo Pecorini grabbing a couple earlier in the season. So it's been a little all over the place down here in Pro-Am. The one constant is car 28 being at the front, usually on the podium in those races. So that gives us kind of a preview of what we're expecting here this evening at Mexico, or at least what we need to look for. Here is a look at the season schedule. Next up after this evening, it's about a month off for the pro guys until we go racing again at Watkins Glen up in New York. Then it's straight through from Watkins Glen to Japan to VIR to Road America. 4 races. I would say back to back to back to back, but we do have the amateur races in between. But otherwise, it'll be 8 straight weeks to cap off the season of North American Racing League action, and I am excited for that. But I'm going to be honest, Zach, I think this might be my favorite race on the calendar this season. And qualifying is already going, so we can take a look at who is fast so far in this session. Let me get the correct ticker up here. That might do us some good. There we go. Both classes on the screen, as Roman Pascucci is fastest so far in car 23. And, I was curious, Zach, how the front engine cars would fare here, because not only is it a bit of a twistier course, granted, yes, you do have the long straights, but we're also at a much higher altitude. Mexico City is up, I believe, over a mile. I think like 6,000 or 7,000 feet. So the altitude actually impacts engine power. And I was a little bit curious if that was going to hurt the Fords and the Aston Martins, even the Mercedes, and maybe give these other cars an advantage that are mid-engine.
You mentioned horsepower and everything that has to do with the altitude of the track. I'm more concerned about handling. Like you said, this track is very, very wavy once you get to the second part of the track, like we see Dino Filippo coming through turn 1, 2, and 3. But the car beforehand, get into, like you said, the pseudo stadium part of the track. The car, you really have to get light with it. You got to slow the car way down. You got to turn a lot more. Then through the S's, you've got to You've got to be able to get the speed down. You've got to be able to rotate the car a little bit. With those front-engine cars, the back end really wants to run around a little bit on you, whereas the mid-engine cars are going to more point and shoot. So, yeah, like you said, it's going to be interesting to see how the front engines handle versus the mid-engines, just like you see with Pascucci here, able to get through there relatively well. So, I mean, it's just going to be a matter of how well these drivers can hold onto their cars, especially through the S's. That's going to be the biggest part.
And so far, Zach, I know we're counting the classes separately on our scoring pylon, but Hector Alvarez is 5th overall in qualifying. 5th overall, less than a half second back of Nicholas Rubelar, who currently sits on pole. There's Francesco Antonicelli. He currently sits 6th overall, and Noel Moron currently sits in 7th. So 3 Pro-Ams altogether here in the top 10. Throw in Blas Diaz to make it 4 total. We are almost splitting the top 10 50-50 between driver classes, and that's impressive, I think, from this Pro-Am category, at least the top of the Pro-Am category, as they are going to ruin that a little bit with Juan Blanat going up to the top of the board. How about that? A 140.468. That will top Rubelar by just about 3/4 of a tenth.
It just goes to show how close these guys are. Again, we've been harping on it all season long that just because you have the title of AM or Pro-Am, that doesn't really mean anything because these guys are laying down similar lap time, similar speed, with the Pro-Ams almost 50%ing on the pros. As we take a look at Antonelli coming through the final part of the track, it does look like these cars are crawling, but I promise you these guys are up to speed and getting up to it. I believe Antonelli's finishing up his qualifying effort. He's going to come to a stop on the front stretch, but again, it just goes to show how close these guys actually are and how tough and stiff this competition actually is.
I think a big part of why these cars look so slow on this racetrack is, I think we're more used to seeing Formula One cars here. And the racetrack is built up like a big Formula One. It is a big Formula One track. So seeing these big burly GT3s kind of lumber around the racetrack a little bit, I don't know. They definitely look slow. As there's Jacob Stofko going top 10 overall. How about that? From a driver we haven't seen a whole lot of this season. Top 10 overall in qualifying. He just gets in ahead of Eduardo Pecorini. There's a couple other drivers who can turn a lap time faster. Maybe Romain Rateau, and that's about it, actually. Angel Ledesma and Marco Franco are the only other two that I see. Ledesma maybe has a shot, but Rateau might be the only other chance to go for a top 10. He will not. He's going to pull into the pit lane. So Ledesma then becomes the only other opportunity to knock anybody out of the top 10, or really any other position.
Coming through the stadium part of the track, and on that last qualifying effort we saw kind of how important it was to practice that pit road entry. It's immediately off of 16 and 17 as Ledesma comes across. Will he improve? No, he will not. So he is going to remain at where he is at the current moment. So all drivers look to have been qualified. We're down to the final 30 seconds, but again, I did kind of want to amplify that the pit road entry right off of 16. If you're trying to carry momentum into pit road, you've got to be able to get down as quickly as possible. You see it here on the camera right off of 17, but it curves itself away from 17. You've got to be down there in the middle of those two white lines to not get any kind of penalty. So pit road entry might be something that we got to keep an eye on once we get to the feature part of the race.
What's interesting, though, about the race structure, Zach, is, of course, they shouldn't be pitting here in the heat race. So if they are, I think they have larger issues. They actually still have that warm-up session in between races, so they don't even have to necessarily practice that yet. Honestly, they could wait until that warm-up to do any entries there into the pit lane. I certainly would recommend practicing it sooner than now, but I mean, if they've waited, they still have a chance at the very least. But we do have cars headed to the starting grid this evening. There they are on the front straightaway. Let's take a look at, of course, the ATVO starting grid this evening for Mexico City, the league's very first trip here to this racetrack and our very first road broadcast from Mexico City. I'm excited for this one. Juan Blanat on pole, fastest qualifier this evening. Nicholas Rublar will join him on the front row. Ralph Benitez will start from third, Dino Filippa from fourth. Of course, a stacked front three rows here with Roman Pascucci and Jackson Resende in row number 3. Back in row 4, we have our first Pro-Am driver on Pro-Am pole. It's Hector Alvarez in car 170 alongside Victor Miranda, and a couple more Pro-Am drivers to fill out the top 10. Noel Moron there in the 28, and Jacob Stofko, a very surprising Pro-Am driver to have in the top 10. I'm excited to see what he can do.
Well, to start out from 11th back to 20th, we got two more Pro-Am drivers in Eduardo Pecorini and Francesco Antonelli starting right behind Jacob Stofko. Right behind them, Marco Saavedra and Fabio Zamperlini. Saavedra in between some Pro-Ams. He's going to be pretty much covered by Pro-Ams because right behind that row, it's Blas Diaz and Paulo Gadai, 15th and 16th. Then Victor Veloso, Chris Winstone, 17th and 18th. And then just behind them, more Pro-Ams, Miguel Colon and Nick DePaula, 19th and 20th.
And back to 21st spot, it's Josue Ramirez in the number 75 alongside Adam Brockway. Back in 23rd and 24th, you'll find Ricardo Delgado in his Corvette alongside Jose Correa. Deeper in the field, 25th, 26th, Romain Rateau in the Porsche, Lucas Souza in the position number 26, but car number 2. Just ahead there of Sam Sweat and Pedro Berger, who's starting very deep in the field, but they will start ahead of Jose Let me make sure I read the full name here. Yeah, Jose Sara. I know there's a couple of new drivers out there with some middle names in there, but Jose Sara there in 29th, and Icaro Piccolo from 30th.
Right behind them, we got Diego Ere and Scott Kimbrough at 31st, 32nd. Just behind them, Angel Ledesma and Marcos Franco, 33rd, 34th. And then rounding out our field is going to be Andy Ray Miller and William Oro Silva.
So 36 cars this evening for the very first North American Racing League event here at Mexico City. You can see the frames are chugging a little bit. This is one of iRacing's newest and most beautiful racetracks so far on the sim, and you can tell the frame rate definitely takes a hit or two with all these cars here at this racetrack, but I'm excited for it, Zach. I really do enjoy this place, and with all of this in mind, we can also take a look at, well, not only the Whiplash SimCam's race details moment, but also, Zach, the power rankings coming into this evening for the Pro Series. Here it is, Dino Filippa on top. Would you have guessed that after the week he had at Indianapolis last time out?
No, I would not have guessed that, but if I remember correctly, he had almost a 20-point power ranking lead over the second place contender, which I believe was also Juan Blanat or Ralph Benitez, one of the two, but he did have a substantially large lead, took a little bit of a hit in those points, but still was able to remain at the top spot. So Dino Filippa really needs a really good race here to even hold on to both the power ranking lead and jump back up in the standings. But, I mean, looking through this list, it's still a very, very stacked list. You see, we already talked about Dino Filippa, Juan Blanat, Ralph Benitez. But just behind them, we got Nicholas Rubelar, Jackson Resende, 4th and 5th, Marco Saavedra, Daniel Pastor, 6th, 7th, Nahel Moron and Roman Pascucci 8th, 9th, and then rounding out your top 10, Blas Diaz. So it's still good to have those Pro-Am drivers amongst those power rankings inside the top 10.
And if we take a look here at your Whiplash SimCam's race details, we can see that this, of course, will begin the evening with a 20-minute sprint race as per usual, followed by our typical 40-minute feature. We will, as always, have that top 8 invert between races. We'll talk about the invert here shortly. And of course, these races are fixed setup with 45% fuel load and a 15x incident limit. So the field through the stadium section now will quickly regroup through turns 16 and 17 and go racing here this evening. Boy, this is cool. Mexico City, for the first time in the North American Racing League, the iRacing.com safety car pulls away, and off of turn 17, Juan Blanat in control, down to the starting line. There it is, Zach. We are racing in Mexico City. It's a long run down the front straightaway. Everybody trying to get down to the inside, but turn 1 is deceptive. Who's going to be the most daring? Down hard on the brakes, down through the gears.
See some 3 wide right here in the middle of the pack. Everyone looks to have gotten through it well, but we still got a couple corners through the middle of it. Still 3 wide right here in the back of the packs. 3 wide, almost 2 rows deep. They're able to get through it unscathed. Really nobody turned around. Fantastic start to this race, but still 3 wide to start it out is an insane start.
I wonder if the stewards have given these pro drivers a bit of a talking to, and there's a mistake now. A couple of cars around at turn number 6 or so. 5, maybe, I forget the number exactly, but Hector Alvarez, one of them, pole sitter in Pro-Am. He's around with another back here. That seems to be Marco Saavedra. Here we go through the S's now on lap 1.
These cars really try to get through the S's as quickly as possible, but you don't want to put your car in harm's way, just because if you put your car in a bad position through any part of the S's, that's going to slow you down substantially trying to get back on it, which puts you in harm's way for somebody behind you. But these leaders right now, right on point, even with these cold tires now through this really slow stadium section, these guys are still getting through it relatively well.
And here they go, back around to complete lap number 1, a relatively uneventful lap to start the race off. I think after Indianapolis last week, these guys have seen the fear, the wrath of Scott Reiser maybe, to calm things down and figure things out. That was a much better start than last week.
Yeah, and I did kind of want to highlight that as a little bit, just because I had the chance of running the amateur race last Thursday at Indy. So when I was getting in, I was kind of expecting that the kind of same carnage going into turn 1, but after the race ended and I started to look back on it, I kind of understand why they were so gung-ho about taking those positions. I kind of went in with a endurance mentality, so to say, just kind of get in, log some laps, get comfortable. But these guys with only 20 minutes on the clock in the heat race to finalize any kind of positioning for the feature race, and then to only have 40 minutes in the feature race, you've got to go. There's really no laying back. There's really no taking your time to get used to things. If you're not used to the car, you're starting at the back, and if you're still not used to the car, you're not comfortable, you're going to stay at the back. You've got to charge as hard as you can. So I was really thankful to get in that race last Thursday and kind of get an understanding as to why we see so much aggression towards the first part of this race, especially in this heat race, because it counts so much. It really, really sets you up for the feature race to put you in a really good position to make any kind of ground, any kind of position, any kind of ground making up in the point standing. So I was really thankful to be in that position to get an understanding as to why we saw such aggression last week, but also really happy to see that these guys still showing that aggression, but not enough over the top to where we've got 6 or 7 different incidences after turn 1.
And lap 2 now goes complete, no change at the top of the pylon. I do want to go back, as there seems to be a slow car now, Scott Kimbrough maybe, into the stadium section here. He drops to 35th overall on the racetrack, and that certainly is not ideal for him. I do want to go back, though, to the start and kind of see how things went. Of course, we had the issue for Saavedra and another. Here is Saavedra already crashed and out of things, so let's go back and see what happened to him. This is through turn number 3, Zach, and we'll get a quick look at how his race goes wrong very quickly.
I believe this was the Antonicelli incident, or it might not have been Antonicelli, but I believe he was trying to get through that relatively unscathed, and I think he just caught somebody right here at the end. But yeah, coming through the pseudo section, tries to go to the outside, bounces off the, just that big hit off the wall from the 47 comes off of it and is able to collect Saavedra just a little bit. He has left front damage heavy. You see him pull off to the left there and call it. Looking at the session in and of itself, he has called it a day there, so Saavedra will not be continuing on through the rest of the race.
You see there, it was, a dive actually from Antonicelli that gets into Pecorini. So that was the Mercedes turned around at turn 5. And if you didn't see it, we'll go back and show you one more time. It was a big dive from the Mustang that is painted similarly to this Mercedes that causes this problem. So he gets in deep, a little bit of contact there at the 23. That checks him up, and then Antonicelli dives, boom, wipes out his teammate. And Alvarez has nowhere to go.
Obviously, the stewards, I mean, seeing it from up top, I think it's safe to say safe to think what we're thinking, but the stewards have also deemed Antonicelli at fault for that. They gave him a black flag, but they've also gave Jose Correa a black flag as well. So 2 Pro-Am drivers already to the back for whatever kind of incidents they got into. Obviously, we just saw the one with Antonicelli, but Jose Correa also involved in some form of incident where the stewards deemed him at fault. So these guys already to the back at this very, very long track.
Meanwhile, battle here between Ledesma and it looks like that is Diego Eda there on the left side of the racetrack. Driver's left, that is. Dive there from Ledesma. He will make the spot up, and Diego Eda gives him a shot there between turns 1 and 2. This is a battle for about 22nd on the racetrack overall, otherwise 14th in class.
You saw there that little bump in between 1 and 2. I don't think it was a egregious bump. I don't think it was a bump of aggression. I think it's just more so like, all right, you got by me, let's get going. It may be one of those things where, hey, we got to get going. You see that long line behind these guys, and they're all relatively stacked right on top of each other. One little mistake, and we could have 3-4 cars in that mix into that wreck. So I think that was just more so of a bump of, all right, you got by me, let's get going, because we've got hungry drivers right behind us.
I don't seem to recall, by the way, that Icaro Piccolo, as Adam Brockway is turned around. Problems there for driver 142, and he is sinking down the order. He is getting back going now. But I saw a driver, I'm going to check registration. I saw a driver that I don't think used to run a Mustang in a Mustang. We'll check on that in a second, but here's the issue for Brockway on his own.
And this is this is like I was saying, Andrew, just these front engine vehicles, that back end likes to really get light because you're trying to fling that car around. You see that car wiggle early in the part of the S's. He was able to maintain it, but trying to get back on the power, that car slid back around. No damage to him, and it was also off track, so he was no hindrance to other drivers, just losing a lot of time, a lot of positions because of that. But the car's still in one piece and he's still rolling, so got to take the small wins when it comes to a big loss like that. So any small win you could have.
By the way, you might notice a new paint scheme out there for this driver. This is Chris Winstone in the number 29. He is donning a Marines paint scheme this evening in remembrance of a dear friend of his. The message he put out to everybody in the Discord server is that he lost a friend by the name of Celia Grayless, otherwise known as CC, who served in the U.S. Marines and was just overall an American badass. And certainly our thoughts and condolences go out to the Grayless family, and Chris Winstone here this evening running this Marines paint scheme in remembrance of Celia and everything she was able to do while she had her time on this earth. And I think certainly it sounds like the earth will be worse off for not having her around.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm glad you brought it to light. I was also reading that message from Chris, and obviously just in that paragraph alone, you saw how much care and effort he put into describing the relationship that he had with CC. So just awesome to see him repping those colors, and very thankful for her service in the U.S. military. And like you said, just the world is worse off without her. Just cancer sucks, man. I can speak from a personal experience. Cancer sucks. So big shout out to the family, and I hope they're watching. Ooh, big issue here from Miranda and everyone else involved right there in the middle of the stadium section as well.
That is a tricky place to have an issue. You saw it all develop. We'll get another look at it here from overhead. This is watching the 53 of Victor Miranda, the 23 of Roman Pascucci. Pascucci dives there and kind of knocks Miranda off the course, and Miranda is having none of it. I mean, that I feel like can go either direction, and we'll get a look at Pascucci in a moment. That is a tough one, Zach. I don't even know how I feel about it just yet. I do feel like Roman kind of dives a little bit, but it's the stadium section. I feel like you've got to also expect that. He definitely used Victor up a little bit, and Victor just kind of took the anti-cut and said we're both spinning. Yeah,
that dive, maybe, while aggressive, I don't think it was egregious in any way. I
think at the pro level, you've got to expect that in that corner.
You've got to expect that. No, I agree. And, I mean, I feel like Pascucci performed it well, maybe not on that exit. Miranda did catch that curb right there, which did lift the fronts, push the car straight, so I think that's what also may have brought a bunch of near misses right there on Pascucci, but that might be our Murtis mega miss already claimed. But still, though, I think it's, like you said, you got to expect it at the pro level, those deep dives going into the stadium. I feel like Miranda could have easily backed up a little bit to get behind, but then again, you know, it's a bang-bang situation, so you don't really see, but I think the stewards saw what we saw because they have issued a black flag to Miranda for that incident, so the stewards saw what we saw, but we see a great battle right here through 2 and 3, able to get away from it, but it backed up a bunch of drivers right here. We got 4 in a pack, 5th and 6th trying to jump up and join them, but a lot of cars right here in this little mini pack.
Well, Zach, this is your top 3 in Pro-Am with now a pro at the inside, Pascucci. Hey, I know you're a pro, you're trying to go forward. You got to keep in mind, though, that this is multi-class racing. This is a top 3 in division. I don't know that I would have done that. Then again, I'm not a pro, so who knows. But
you just saw the move there. I mean, I'm sorry to cut you off, but you saw the move there by Pascucci. Forced it 3 wide to the inside. These guys went wide because of it, backed out, crossed over both of them, and now driving away. So, while, no, I agree with you. I do think that was a little bit of an aggressive move. Pascucci was able to go through it flawlessly. Now, again, it is in the battle and in the midst of Pro-Am. You did let the leader of Motorhome get away just a little bit there, obviously.
A little?
But then again, I was trying to play it off just a little bit, but still, at the end of the day, I do feel like nobody was really injured in their car there, in their driving. Well, speaking of injury, but it's still, though, as far as the pro moves go, I got to give it to Pascucci for being aggressive, but at the same time, he didn't really give a lot of contact to these two.
No, there was no contact, but again, I think as a pro, you are kind of, you're one of the drivers everybody looks to for an example of how to race. And I think if roles were reversed, if Roman was battling at the top of Pro-Am, he would want the pro to let him fight. And I think that's an example you want to set, especially when, Roman's not battling anyone for position right now. He is 10, 11 seconds back of Ralph Benitez for the next position forward, and he is 3 or 4 seconds ahead of Victor Veloso. I don't think that was necessary out of Roman. And again, while he technically has his prerogative to make that move and go 3 wide, I don't think it was necessary. I don't think it's what he would want done to him. And I mean, golden rule, Zach, if you want to break it down, respect. Do unto others what you want done to yourself. I don't think he would want that 3 wide if he was in those shoes.
You're absolutely fair and valid in thinking that too, because like you said, as a pro, you have people looking up to you. What kind of moves do you make? How do you present yourself as a driver, as a person, whatever it may be, however somebody's going to look up to you? So, no, you're absolutely right in that aspect. And if he doesn't want it done to him, obviously, then why do it to others? So I guess that's also something to keep in mind. Now, if we see something down the road here, maybe this race down the season, or through the rest of the races, if we see something happen to Pascucci where somebody gets a little aggressive and trying to pass, we can kind of point back to this spot and point back to this race and in that specific point and be like, well, you kind of did it here. So yeah, no, I completely agree with you, and it did separate that battle a lot. You see Chris Winstone having to get going again. That's coming into the stadium section. He gets back on track, rejoins. Looks like he has a little bit of damage to that left front, maybe, but yeah, just a little bit of damage on the front part of that car. Oh, big dooring right here.
Oh, it's Marcos Franco. He just lost a handful of positions in response to all of this. So let's go back and see what happened there to Chris Winstone to start this all off. He has since taken his car to the pit lane. He was racing here with Samsoid, and I recall him being in a pretty good battle with Samsoid a few laps ago when we were talking about him. Unfortunately, it seems that battle has either gone sideways or Chris has made a pretty large mistake here. He actually got a really good run through the S's at Samsoid here into turn 12. Oh, this is a fantastic run.
Samsoid plays a little defensive.
Oh, boy.
He gets in there a little bit too deep. Yep. Oh man.
Samsoid sold him the dummy, and Chris bit every bit of the way. I mean, he committed there. Obviously, we hate to see that. But that might be something I ask him about next week in the amateur broadcast. I mean, he went for it. He was sold the dummy, hook, line, and sinker. That's part of racing. It sucks, but that's part of racing.
Yeah, no, I agree. Just like you said, sold him that move just a little bit. I believe he is back on track as of right now, but coming back up here to this lead, we've already gone through almost 20 minutes of this race. Juan Blanat, Nicholas Rubel are right behind him. These two have separated themselves from 3rd, 4th, and 5th of Felipe Resende and Benitez. So these two obviously have a good feeling of this track. Now, with these two being up front, obviously good points to come their way in the heat race. But because of that top 8 invert, these two will be, as of right now, starting 7th and 8th respectively. And we've seen that spill disaster for some of these pro drivers who take on the heat race, win the heat race, but can't get their way back up into that kind of position because of this invert. So again, that's just something to consider as you're leading these races. Where do you want to be, or not leading, but when you're in around those positions, where do you want to be? Are you okay with where you're going to be for the feature? So obviously these two, class of the field as of right now, the fastest two on track, but at the same time will be mired back in the back if everything holds for the feature race.
To your point about the invert coming up, that battle we saw, top 3 in Pro-Am, is right around that invert position. So Roman Pascucci actually, it's interesting, he's going to shoot himself in the foot a little bit. He's going to put himself further down the starting grid of the feature race here in about 5 more minutes, as he has passed now Noel Moron and moved up to 6th overall. So he has taken himself off of the front row for the grid of the feature race here shortly. Noel, though, has fallen onto the front row while also holding the Pro-Am lead. This is honestly a gain for him, I feel like. I know he's technically losing a point right now for the heat race, But when you consider the possible upsides to this, Zach, to starting on the front row, I definitely think that is an overall gain for Noel. To lose the position right now, but start on the front row for the feature race, I think that's an opportunity for sure being presented to him. We'll see if he's able to make the most out of it. Obviously, the run down to turn 1 is going to be scary, and this might be the one racetrack where starting on the front row might not be an advantage, but we'll see how it ends up going here in a few short minutes as these two run nose to tail. For that 8th position, Blas Diaz currently holds it. Jacob Stofko wants it back. That's the battle for 2nd in Pro-Am currently. And you know, Zach,
these two get separated. Sorry, go ahead.
We've been seeing a lot of comeback drives recently, both in Pro and in Am. If we look through positions gained so far this evening, let me hit the right button here. There it is. Let's see, already 5 spots for Veloso. Of course, this is counting overall positions gained, not class positions. 7 spots for Diaz, 15 for Ledesma. That's impressive.
That is very impressive, coming from the back all the way. Still, P11 in class, it maybe not where you want to be, but still gaining 15 positions in just this absolutely stacked field that we have here. Again, we mentioned it earlier about how these guys ride on top of each other, whether it be Pro or Pro-Am. Still, to be able to gain 15 positions, that's an incredible feat. Started 33rd, currently inside the top 20 overall. That's still going to be good points going forward. May not be the best, but it's still good points going forward. Rubelar goes quickest as we take the Whiplash Simcam's white flag, but still Ledesma gaining 15 positions. Fantastic run so far, and hopefully we see that continue forward in the feature race as we come back up here. Juan Blainat, Nicholas Rubelar still 1-2 on each other. Rubelar has gained in a little bit on Blainat. Will he be able to make any kind of charge here through the second half of the track?
We've not really watched these leaders at all yet, Zach. Rubelar has been stalking the 89 of Blainat. Rubelar able to sweep the races last week in Indianapolis, or I guess 2 weeks ago, Indianapolis. Has an opportunity here this evening. Could he get this away from Juan Blainat in the final moments? Oh, he's so close there through the hairpin.
Gains a lot on the hairpin. I believe Blainat's going to be able to pull just a little bit. No, not really. He's kind of able to stick with him, Rubelar is. Blainat still right out in front, about 3 car lengths. Get through the S's really, really nice. This is where the car likes to get really, really light. You see that car up front, Juan Blainat, be able to angle into the corner a little bit better, be able to take the corners a little bit better, and I believe that's where he's kind of re-picked up his time on Rubelar. Staying about 4/10 on each other coming into the stadium section.
One more opportunity for Nicholas Rubelar. Can he get there? No, I don't think so. I think this is going to be Juan Blainat's win here in the heat race. Oh, there was a little dive. He looked for it at 16 there, but Nicholas Rubelar going to come up short. Juan Blainat going to lead out of turn number 17 and take home the win here in the heat race at Mexico City. Nahuel Moron will come off of turns 16 and 17 here and take his own heat race win. That will put him second on the grid, by the way, for the feature race in a little bit, alongside Blas Diaz. And that battle, here it is. Diaz over Stofko and Zamperlini to complete your overall top 10. Paulo Goday will have to take 5th in class, 11th overall. There are some other battles side by side here. Oh, off the racetrack. This is Hector Alvarez and Nick DePaula. DePaula the Mercedes, Alvarez the Lamborghini. Kind of got forced off there, and he, I think, is pitting. He is. That might have forced him into an incident penalty, and he's going to go.
That might have.
He's going to go end of line. There's no serving that now. That's going to be end of line, unfortunately, for him.
That's something that we got to keep our eye on as well. Obviously, in 20 minutes, if we're already racking up incident points, we do see the cars using up a bunch of curbing, a bunch of the track, and iRacing may deem some of it as an off-track, so that's something that we're going to have to keep our eye on as we go forward now. Some of these guys might already be close to that limit, so as we see some of these cars finishing up back here towards the back, that is something that we're going to have to, as I said, keep our eye on as we get into the feature now.
And Alvarez did get sent back to 30th position there at the end of that heat race per that incident penalty. So that little moment there at the end with Nick DePaula, boy, that will do that. Is, oh, it sounds like maybe there's a little more going on. Samsoid is usually one of the quietest in the league Discord, Zach, and he has made a comment. So let's go back maybe and see if we can find what happened there. Give me just a moment to find the right spot in the replay. It was Nick DePaula. Trying to find him here. Here we go. So this is white flag. You see the flags in the background. So this is the run down to turn 1 with Hector Alvarez. Samsoid just behind, so he's going to be privy to all of this through his windshield.
This is something to keep in mind, too, as you're a racer going forward. Obviously, you've been racing around these guys so long, so you kind of know their tendencies, but if somebody gets aggressive at a certain part of the track or at a certain track in particular, that's something that you got to keep in the back of your mind. Samsoid obviously voicing a little bit of, like you said, Andrew, he's normally relatively quiet, relatively to himself, but voicing some frustrations at what might have happened here. Samsoid's car looked like it got a little light going into the top of that part of that section. He falls back, so that windshield battle that we were talking about gets a little dimmer, or excuse me, a little bit smaller. But again, I do kind of want to see what happens here if there was anything leading up to it.
And Samsoid is back here with Lucas Souza, so again, he's going to have front row seat to all of this here in just a moment when they do have whatever issue happens ahead. So if we, well, actually, they're having a little battle themselves, but let's see. Nick DePaula, Hector Alvarez. This is into the stadium section. Nick on the inside. Just kind of self-clears. I mean, that was a pretty established two-wide move, and that absolutely forced the incident for Hector Alvarez.
Yeah. Man, that one's tough. Obviously, racing incident right there through the stadium. Very slow, very tight. But at the same time,
I mean, Hector's well alongside.
Over. Yeah, he's still there the entire time. Paul is still. I mean,
it's just a self-clear.
I don't know if maybe just because of that contact, Paula couldn't get the car back over to the left to give Hector Alvarez that room or whatnot. But I mean, from that top-down view, it's tough to say.
I personally definitely see the Mercedes kind of self-clearing over, but hey, we'll let stewards interfere if they need to. Regardless, we can take a look at what's upcoming here at Pit Stop TV. There is quite a bit, Zach, as we have had a busy start to 2026. Well, here is the next week or so on Pit Stop TV. Next up, Monday evening. We have a few days off. We're not doing the All-American Racing Network race on Sunday morning. Zach, I think you and I will still be recovering from a hangover. So Sunday morning, we're taking that one off. We'll watch that on Pirate Broadcasting as the All-American Racing Network takes their Gen 7 NASCAR Cup cars out to, I believe, Phoenix Raceway this weekend. But next up for us, we go to Bristol with the NORA Retro Cup Series. I'm excited for that. I mean, short track racing in throwback NASCAR stock cars. What more could you want? Obviously, it's not old Bristol from 2003 or 2005, Zach, but it's pretty darn close at this point. I'm excited for Monday evening's broadcast, and I'm also excited to cap off a fantastic season of racing in the BRB Sundance Pro Series. All 18 races conclude this coming Tuesday, March the 3rd, at Homestead Miami Speedway. ARCA cars at a big intermediate track. That's going to be a bunch of fun. And look at that, right back here at Mexico City, Zach. You'll be out there in your big old Bodie BMW. I know you haven't turned any laps yet, but I guess this would be where I ask you how you're feeling about it, but I guess you're not really feeling anything yet.
Trying to take as many mental notes as I can from these pro drivers, buddy. That's all I can do at the moment. Trying to take as many notes as I can, understanding what they're doing and seeing if I could apply it to the big Bodie BMW. So as of right now, just kind of learning and enjoying as of right now.
And you can catch all these broadcasts and more across our social media platforms, all listed down below. As we wait on the next race to begin, we can of course give a big thank you to our partners with this series, longtime partners all across the board here. Maradness, JS Consulting, Screw Compressor Service Incorporated, and Rocket Designs all do so much for the North American Racing League on a weekly basis, sometimes daily. They're all longtime cast members here of the series, and We enjoy having each of them along for the ride here on Thursday evenings. It really does mean so much to have each of these groups involved in this Thursday evening league. Whether it's the pros, the amateurs, whatever combination it might be, whatever racetrack we're going to, you know these groups do a bunch for this league. And it does, I will say, it does take a bit of a financial burden, and so it makes it a little bit easier, I think, on Scott Reister to have some of the prizes and such. This is a top dollar league here, the North American Racing League, so these groups do help. A big thank you as well to our partners here at the channel, Whiplash SimCams, MX Wraps. It's a different order still, and my brain is still trying to get used to it. MX Wraps, ATVO, Murtis Esports, CC's Business, and the North American Racing League that you're watching here this evening on Pit Stop TV. Our feature race grid is set. Drivers are loading into their cars and about to go racing this evening, Zach, for the second time. And this is where things are about to get interesting. Of course, that 8-car invert that will put Blas Diaz on pole. There you see on the ATVO starting grid, Blas Diaz will lead us to the green here for this 40-minute feature alongside Noel Maron. And these two, I think, certainly after Indy and now after the heat race tonight, these two are easily the top of the Pro-Am division right now. We'll see if that changes at all when we get back to Watkins Glen later this year. Starting third and fourth, we've got pros the rest of the way through the top 8. It's Roman Pascucci in third and Ralph Benitez in fourth, just ahead there of Jackson Rosende and Dino Filippa. And finally, to complete your invert spots, Nicholas Rubelar alongside Juan Blanett. To complete your top 10, though, a couple more Pro-Am drivers with Jacob Stofko and Fabio Zamperlini with a top 10 finish there in the heat race. He will start 10th now in the feature.
Right behind them, Paolo Gaddai. We haven't mentioned his name in a couple of weeks. We didn't really talk about him at Indy. He started 14th, or excuse me, he started 16th in the heat, got himself up to 11th, so he will be starting there 11th. Right next to him, Victor Veloso will be starting in 12th. Miguel Colon and Francesco Antonicelli will be starting 13th and 14th. Right behind them, Josue Ramirez and Romain Roteau will be starting 15th and 16th. Starting 17th and 18th, right behind them, Ricardo Delgado, Victor Miranda will be starting in those positions. And rounding out our top 20, Angelo Desma and Nick DePaula, 19th and 20th.
16 cars to go, beginning with Sam Soyd in 21st and Lucas Souza there in 22nd spot. Icaro Piccolo in a Ford Mustang will start from 23rd. I just love that name so much. Andy Ray Miller will start from 24th this evening, also in a Ford Mustang. Scott Kimbrough out there in car 17. He will grid up 25th tonight in the feature race with Jose Correa on his left side. I do believe. Yeah, that would be left side. Back in 27th, Eduardo Pecorini in a Mercedes alongside Chris Winstone in a Ford Mustang. To complete your top 30, Jose Sara and Hector Alvarez looking to bounce back after an abysmal start to the night.
Everybody from 31st on back did finish some form of lap down in that heat race. Marcos Franco will be starting 31st. Diego Ere will be starting 32nd next to him. William Oro Silva started dead last race. He came up a couple positions. He will be starting 33rd. Right next to him, Adam Brockway. And rounding out your field, Pedro Berger and Marcos Saavedra will be starting 35th. Marcos has since dropped, so Marcos will be credited with a 36th in both heat and a feature. But we have a car around in the heat, Andrew. I'm not for sure who that is. Or excuse me, on the warm-up.
Victor Veloso turned around out of Brazil, and I think he's turning around. This is going to cause some black flags for sure. The leaders, though, are exiting turns 16 and 17. So let's get ready here, Zach, while Victor resets himself. Here we go, off of turn 17 to begin our feature race down in Mexico City. Blas Diaz, Noel Maron, the front row. Green flag once again. We're feature racing, and it's a land rush. Noel got nowhere there on the start. Blas Diaz with the whole shot. Here we go.
Big hole shot. He takes off to the left to block going into turn 1. We see 3 wide way back there. I say way back there. About 3 rows deep, 3 wide. Almost 4 wide it looked like there for a little bit. Blas Diaz will hold on to that P1 position. See cars jumping curbs. During a little bit, we got one around.
It's going to be Dino Filippa turned around in turns 1 and 2. More chaos and contact there off of turn 3. Down now the run to turn 4. One car's got no bumper. I believe that may be Ralph Benitez. That's actually going to be Jackson Rosende, no front bumper.
Resende, no front bumper coming through, as you said, Andrew, the pseudo stadium part of this track. Again, big dive right there going into 4. We saw that early in the heat race. I'm not for sure who that might have been. The rest of the field lined out behind them, but we see big dives right there early on. Blas Diaz able to get away from this field as of right now with, I believe that is, I believe that's Blaine out right behind him, but either way,
Pascucci,
still
actually.
these two were, oh, well, either way, these two able to get out to a sizable lead with that car, that Mercedes without the front bumper right behind them. He's going to be a huge parachute on these long straights without that front bumper.
See the whole field now working into the stadium section properly. Here's a look at some of the Pro-Ams snaking around here. This is a really cool scene. Miguel Colon there ahead of Romain Rateau and Ricardo Delgado. They get it figured out. And lap 1 will go complete. We will have some stuff to go back and review, I think. Let's let these guys settle in just a little bit longer, then we'll take a look back at lap 1.
Well, speaking of that lap 1 incidents, the stewards have deemed Jackson Resende at fault for, I believe, that incident that we saw with Dino Filippo going around right around this part of the track. So Jackson Resende has been given a black flag. He will have to remove himself from the racing service and take that black flag. Now, that's one of the other things, too. He's got no front bumper, so he cannot stop during that black flag. He's got to ride all the way through. So if that car does have a little bit of a handling issue, he's going to have to come back around and come down pit road at another point in time to get that fixed. Obviously, he's probably going to try to stay out until the pit road, until the pit window opens for these guys to take fuel to make it to the end. So Resende here, big implications for the rest of this race. We see another car around right here in the pseudo stadium part of the track. That's Icaro Piccolo in his Ford Mustang. He gets back out on track. Doesn't really look like there's a lot around him, but he was backwards after, I believe that was turn 5.
We'll go back and see what happened here to Dino Filippo. This is... Where are we at here? This is back in turn 6. Let's advance this a little bit then and get back up to where we need to be for the start of this race. This is into the stadium section. Actually, this gives us a chance to go back and see what the heck happened to the 10 car of Victor Veloso here. This is a great opportunity. So here he is. And don't tell me it was tire warming, Zach.
I think it was, yeah. You see that back end step out. Yeah.
Oh.
Oh my God, and he nosed it into the wall as well. Great heads up by these guys, especially on a warm-up lap. Obviously, you're going slow. You're not really moving too fast, but when you got cars wiggling in front of you, all of a sudden you've got one facing you. It's quite a shock. So heads up, good heads up for those guys all around him. He noses it into the wall, trying to get back going. Then this 3 wide action right here that involved Dino Filippo and Jackson Resende. Let's see what happens.
Dino on driver's left into the corner here on the outside. He's going to turn in. Resende is there. Ah, that's interesting. That is really interesting, actually. I wonder how
he's trying to come over to the middle part of the track, and
aligned.
Filippo was there.
So we might get a decent view here from the blimp. I hope we do. The trees are in the way down the straightaway, but they should clear out for the corner. They do. Oh, that's interesting. I don't know that there's really anybody at fault, but to back the stewards up, you know, lap 1 incidents are heavily penalized here. They typically have to put it on somebody. I think they probably got the right person if they have to choose, but I can't spot anything that either driver did wrong.
I'm wondering if Resende maybe got a clear call, or maybe just at some point during all that, like, just because it's a 90-degree corner, so I don't know how iRacing does it per se, but I mean, maybe right there he's trying to get back in behind Filippo, but his teammate was immediately there after that contact, so I'm not for sure what might have happened there. And you see Resende there forcefully retake that position after the fact, so I'm not for sure either.
Well, then we had an issue for Chris Winstone a little bit later on. This is still lap 1. It happens on lap 2. We're going to slowly kind of inch up towards it. Nothing happening here through the S's. Let's go up a little bit further. And here we go. This might tell us a bit more of the story. He's right alongside Hector Alvarez here. This is down to turn 1.
Saw Hector have to go to the back because of a drive-through, arguably for incident points. We cannot confirm that just yet. Oh, Winstone goes a little bit wide, stays right there in the middle of the track, and just gets tagged right there in the middle of 2 and 3. So
That's another
again,
really
it's
tough
very,
one.
Yeah, it's very, very tough.
See it
I mean,
here.
arguments can be made on both sides, right? You could say that Alvarez could have backed up. You could say Winston could have given a little bit more room. So that's where it makes trying to break these down difficult, just because of that. You could see both sides of it very clearly. So I don't know. That one is tough.
Going to advance up a little bit for this next incident with Ricardo Delgado. He has gone towards the rear. I'm trying to catch up on replays. I'm watching timing and scoring while we view these replays to see what we can go back and get a look at to recap the action. Here's Delgado to turn 1. Is it here? I don't think so. So bear with me. I'm kind of flying blind here, just trying to get to these incidents. I saw the drivers at least that had the issues, so I'm trying to get up here to them and show what we've missed while looking at replays to begin with. I think it's going to be up here in the stadium section because it was Ricardo Delgado and it was Romain Rateau. And there's more incidents happening, Zach, while live. So a lot's happening. Here's the Rateau and Delgado incident, though, in the stadium section. I'm assuming, yeah, that'll do it.
Yep. It looks like those cars just get hooked. Comes back out into the track right at the apex. Just stop the car, buddy. Just stop the car. Get off, man. Yeah, it looks like if you get any kind of contact through the stadium, the cars like to hook. They like to just kind of stay on each other. Now, we do see some cars dropping. Eduardo Pecorini, he was given a black flag and then has left the session. Samsoid has left, and I believe this might be why right here.
Yeah, this just happened.
Samsoid
Stavko
to the drivers outside.
racing with Samsoid. And up the inside goes Resende. That's low percentage for sure. And I can understand why Samsoid would have been frustrated with that. Go back a little bit further. Let's see. How does Stavko lose the bumper is what I want to see. Or not the bumper, but the wing.
He was running well. We were talking about him earlier in the race. I did kind of want to highlight him just a little bit just because we hadn't really mentioned him a lot, and then he came out to Mexico, had a great sprint race, was in contention for the invert. And I'm kind of, got off that curb just a little bit too early. That car whipped.
So there's the issue initially for Stavko. And then I do still want to get one more look at the incident here with Samsoid, and then we will come back to live picture. I thank you all for bearing with us. I know this has been a long time in replay, but I think it's all very important context as well. Jackson Resende has just been handed a penalty, and he is now in the pit lane. So another incident at fault for Resende, it looks like. So again, I thank you for bearing with us here on replays. It's not been 10 minutes because we watched the first lap and a half, but I feel you still. As here is Samsoid in turn 16. And that's Resende up the inside. And look at that. That's Alvarez and one more in the wall. Really hard. We wouldn't have seen that if we weren't in replay.
Yeah, and both of them teammates, too. Both of those Lamborghinis up into the wall. So, I mean, oh, man, that one's tough. I could see the frustration for Samsoid. Obviously, with Stavko having that little bit of trouble with no rear wing, having to be a little bit slower, but still have decent pace in order to battle like that. That one, I can understand the frustration. But we're back up here live, I believe. Yes, this should be live picture.
It is. And this was the battle at the back of the field. Fabio Zampolini and Icaro Piccolo. Just wanted to pick it up kind of back to front. This is now going to be Scott Kimbrough trying to run down William Oro Silva. And there were some battles popped up, but honestly, the best one now is actually here for third. Here it is.
Big run down the front stretch. That's the 77 of Rubilar with Blanat right behind him. Blanat did go purple the last lap. He's going to look to the driver's left. Rubilar's going to block it back to the right with I believe that's Blas Diaz right in front of them. That is. So Blas Diaz has since lost the lead to Roman Pescucci. So these guys are all kind of backing up right now. Rubilar on the back end of Blas is going to look to his driver's inside coming up onto the next corner.
Battle here on board with Blas Diaz, and there goes Rubilar up the inside. My concern for the pro guys is I think Pascucci's too far gone. 3.5 seconds out. I don't think there's any catching the 23 car.
I kind of agree with you, but we did
We'll see. There's still a lot of racing to go, but I don't know. I guess if anybody's going to do it, it probably would be Rubilar, who swept the heat and feature last week at Indy.
That's true, and also we did see the pace that Rubilar and Blanot had in that heat race. Those two were the class of the field. They were able to run away from drivers like Ralph Benitez, Marone, and everybody that did start in a part of that invert. Pascucci was also a part of that invert. He started P3 on the feature, so obviously both Rubilar and Blanot have the pace to do a little bit of contact, and that's going to be another bumper gone for the 43 of Ralph Benitez. So those Mercedes, those bumpers, they need to be tightened down just a little bit, buddy.
They need to find... Never mind. I'll hold comment there. That did not look good. That did not... And the flash there from Blas is perfectly well warranted. That did not look good. That did not like that. No. Let's see here. So Blas Diaz is the blue Aston Martin here. I mean, Ralph gained some time there, but he was letting a pro go through, and then, yeah, no, there was no line, there was no overlap. I mean, there was no indication, I think, to me at least, that move should be made, personally.
Well, as frustrating as that might be for Blas Diaz, obviously he took a hit to the bumper, but he lost a position because of it. That put him back into the clutches of Marone. But I mean, he didn't really lose anything off the car. Maybe a little bit of damage to the back end. I mean, obviously, again, losing a position and now in the clutches of Marone, who's been just rock solid these last few weeks. So obviously, again, not the best, but nothing as of losses on the car. You're still right there on the back end of Benitez. So, I mean, yes, a little bit of loss on track, but you're still around that position. So, again, I can understand the frustration. Very frustrating part of the racetrack, a very stressful part of the racetrack, and then you have something like that happen to you. But your car's still intact. You still got really good pace. You're still the leader of the Pro-Ams as of right now. So, again, take your losses with your wins as best as you can. And I believe right now, I think that's going to be the case for Blas Diaz as of right now.
That's all fair. That's a good point, that he didn't really lose much. Honestly, it's more penalizing to Benitez because he's now got no front bumper. So I don't know that he's going to run Blanat or anybody else down. So that kind of really only cost himself. And Blas, I think, is in the position that he likely would have been in shortly thereafter anyways. So, yeah, that's interesting for sure. But you see, certainly there is urgency, and that is good to see. I think objectively, while I don't like the contact that was made there, I think objectively it is good to see the urgency out of these drivers. They want to go forward. They want to perform well in this race, and there is something to say for that, Zach, as here we go, down into turn number 4. Tight little part of the racetrack here, and these are your 4 Pro-Am leaders, as there's a slew of drivers hitting the pit lane early, I think, for damage and penalties and everything else. But these are your actually 3 Pro-Am leaders, with Victor Miranda just behind as a pro driver, right behind these guys.
I want to highlight that as well as we're watching this battle. Victor Miranda, we saw him get penalized in that heat race, have to go to the back, has driven his way all the way up to 5th overall, or excuse me, 5th in pro. Big wiggle into the braking part of the S's. He's going to lose time to those Pro-Am guys now, but still, fantastic recovery drive for Victor Miranda. We documented it, I believe it wasn't the last race at Indy, but the race before, where he had to come all the way from the back, picked up a bunch of positions because of it, and has now put himself 8th overall, 5th in the pro running. But again, behind these guys with Marone, with Blas Diaz, with Antonelli right there with him, I mean, that's still a difficult position to be in. As we come back here, we see a car backwards.
That's Fabio Zamperlini. Contact there in turn 4 has sent him sideways. Chris Winstone comes through the picture briefly. I saw a train of about 5 cars all together as this happens. And go ahead.
Obviously, no. This contact right here, obviously not what you want. You don't want that car to go backwards, especially on the track. But I still got to give him a shout out for just waiting for the cars to come by. He could have easily tried to pull out, try to get going as quickly as possible to not lose time. He still sat there, let the other cars come by to not damage his car anymore. Obviously, that Porsche gets a big run. Zapperlini trying to take a big line. The Porsche thinks there's... Again, I'm not for sure on that one as well.
That wasn't as egregious as some of the stuff we've seen throughout the beginnings of the evening, for sure. That just felt like racing to me, honestly. I mean, Fabio was trying to get the better run in the next apex, and Romain kind of shot out to the right side of the racetrack to begin with, which I think is pretty natural if you're trying to run simply for lap time, whereas Fabio was trying to get a run at the next corner. So I think that's just racing, honestly. Two lines meeting together in that corner, and that's certainly very common to see happen there. But battle here for the Pro-Am race lead. This is exciting. Now Marone around the outside. Blas Diaz not giving up on the inside. And there's Antonincelli. He wants a piece. Pass made. Marone to the front. Diaz now defending. It's not going to happen. Antonincelli fires through.
Well, this is going to get even more interesting with these guys changing up some positions like this, because the NARL Stewards has deemed the 43 at fault for that contact with the 55. They told the 43 he has to give that position back. So now we're going to have another driver that's going to be in this mix. Obviously, he can't drop all the way back now to the 55. He's going to have to give that position back, which is now Morone's position. So we're going to have another driver in this. Victor Miranda looking to the inside of Antonincelli, now to his outside. Antonincelli, these guys doing battle to Mustangs. A little bit of contact. Both of them get going again. No harm, no foul. A little bit of touch, but these guys get going. You see the 43 there, off pace, off track. He has given that position a lot of positions back.
Oh my goodness.
Back up into the middle of it.
That was interesting. We'll maybe take a look back at that in a second, as Blas Diaz is still battling here with Francesco Antonincelli and Victor Miranda. That was close. Oh my gosh. Dino Filippo's back here as well. He's just gone through Paulo Goday and others, as Ralph Benitez now sorts all the way back to about the 12th position, make that 11th, as he gets ahead of Jose Ramirez into turn number 7. Wow. Business has picked up, Zach. That was
very quickly
an incredible little sequence. Let's get back to it.
Saw there an incredible battle between these two, Victor Miranda and Francesco Antonincelli. Antonincelli did not want to give up, but again, we do want to see what Ralph Benitez did here. We saw him come to the left. He dropped all the way back. He did end up giving that position back, but he gave up about, what, 6, 7, maybe even 8 positions. Now right here, he picks back up pace.
Oh my
gets
gosh.
Right in the middle of the track. That's highly questionable. You see Filippo take big advantage of that. Jumps about 3 cars because of it. But I don't know about that rejoin. Obviously, if you're down on pace, you stay on that line until you're back up to pace. I don't know about all that.
No, that's asking to be rear-ended. That was...
Yeah, that one...
That was not it.
Now, obviously, with all the moves that we've seen and the ones that we had to bite our tongue, I don't really think we have to bite our tongue on that one. That was an egregious rejoin back into the racing line. Obviously, you're down on pace. You're about 50 to 70 miles per hour slower than these guys here, and you rejoin back on the racing line. Oh, man, that's egregious. That's very, very egregious.
Yeah, that needs to be looked at. I think that was worse than the contact we saw with him and Blas Diaz. That was just dangerous. That was asking to ruin his own race and about 4 or 5 others. And I don't know. Obviously these guys are accomplished sim racers. They're great drivers in their own right. They're all fast. They're all capable. So I don't want to, bring into question any of their abilities. But some of the decision making this evening has been interesting, to say the least. Again, that just doesn't seem the brightest to me, that particular move. But I'm sure we've all been there, Zach. I'm trying to play both sides of the fence, if you can't tell. Trying to put myself in his shoes. I can tell you I wouldn't have done that, but there's also been things in my life that I couldn't tell you why I did it. So maybe heat of the moment. I don't know. I'm trying to
that's very fair.
Play devil's advocate here we've all made mistakes. We've all done things that we can't really explain afterwards.
And it could have easily just been brain fog. He did let the 55 go by, and he's like, okay, I'm ready to get going, maybe just not looking in his mirror. So I do see that point. I do see that point. Just a little bit of just lack of can't even say lack of concentration. He saw the 55 go by and figured he can get back going. So we see pit stops happening now. Victor Veloso is down pit road. It looks like he will be taking his one and only stop now that we are just under halfway. But no, I agree. I could see how that could be a factor.
Meanwhile, Noel Marone has taken over 4th place overall. There he is, leaving turn 6. He leads in Pro-Am by a decent little margin now over Francesco Intonicelli and Blas Diaz, the remainder of the top 3 currently in Pro-Am. Saw some comments asking about the race weather. Good point. Haven't gotten to it yet this evening. Here's a look at the current MXWraps.com race weather. Oh my goodness, that track temp, Zach. Get ready. That is toasty. 72.5 degrees ambient temperature, partly cloudy skies, 112 track temp. That's a little bit warmer than I thought we would have here this evening. And if you look here at the sim date and time, I mean, it's still February 26th in the sim, but let's also bear in mind just how much closer to the equator Mexico City is than most of the racetracks we're visiting this season. It is going to be considerably warmer, I would imagine. And really, the ambient temperature isn't even that hot. It's just direct sunlight. I mean, you see the sim time, middle of the afternoon, 1:46 p.m., 13:46. It's decently warm as far as the track goes, and that temp is still climbing.
That makes sense why we see some of these guys having trouble with just a little bit of wiggling. We saw, obviously, on that warm-up
also on the pace lap, yeah.
Yeah, the car's just losing it under just pacing laps, and then it's just some of the wiggles through the S's that we see. We saw Victor Miranda a couple laps ago have a big lift, get out of it. He has since recovered from it, but I mean, maybe just some of the other wiggles that we just haven't been able to catch. So this track, very, very hot, very hard to get back onto the throttle. So again, huge kudos to these guys for being able to put up with that and still put down fantastic racing and fantastic lap times, really.
On board with newcomer Jose Sara has joined the series coming into this week. You know, Scott Reister out there, I don't know where he is this evening. Not racing tonight, unfortunately, but he informed me we would have 3 newcomers this evening. One of them not here, but whenever he gets to joining this pro field, I think he's going to throw you guys off a little bit. I don't want to spill the beans, but Zach, we've got a very talented young sim racer headed this field's way very, very soon. That's what I will say for now, but as we have just about 16 minutes to go, Zach, I'm curious when these guys are going to pit. This seems like we're pretty far into the race to have not seen really any of the leaders pit at all.
Agreed, and I do want to give another shout out back to Chris Winstone just because of the fantastic job he did and he does with you every other Thursday in the amateur level. Big wiggle from Pascucci there, but he did also kind of bring up a good point at Indy. I went back and watched the broadcast that you guys had last week about how these GT3 drivers like to push it to the absolute limit. This is a very long, very big track that you're on throttle for most of the time. So these guys are trying to get every last single little bit of drop of gas. So these guys, again, probably pushing it to the absolute maximum to make sure they get every little bit out of their car, whether it be a form of gas or tire, whatever it may be. But again, a very large track to be pushing it this far. Nerves of steel. I don't think I could. I think if I got back down to 1 lap remaining, I think I'm coming in early. So, again, nerves of steel from these guys to be able to be pushing it as hard as they are with fuel getting down to it.
As these guys approach their pit stops, haven't seen anybody yet decide to come in, but here's a look at Francesco Intonicelli and Blas Diaz. Their last lap times, 141.2s each. Very similar between them. I mean, just 3 1,000ths of a second off. As, Blas Diaz trying to reel in that number 61 card. It seems like these leaders are all sailing by the pit entry again. It is a very empty pit lane currently. They are just sailing on by. Wow, they have got the fuel thing figured out. I know the higher altitude, of course, means less power from the engine. I wonder, does that help fuel mileage? I wouldn't think so.
Again, I wouldn't think so either, just because of how long you're on the throttle, regardless of altitude. You're still on the throttle, which is feeding the engine more gas to create said horsepower, regardless of if you're down on it or not. But I mean, it could be. If you're not producing as much horsepower, it's not feeding as much. Well, as I say that, we do got pit stops happening here. Some drivers towards the little back end of the field still coming down pit road. That's Diego Ere coming down for his stop. He will hit his box. Normally the average of these stops are anywhere from about 12 seconds on, but since they don't have to go as far, they don't have to stay as long in the pits. 6-second box time and a
really
28-second lane time.
That is abnormal.
Wildly abnormal.
Typically it's 13 seconds, 12 to 13. That is a very quick pit stop, which makes me wonder, when we saw Victor Veloso, we briefly looked at it here on the broadcast with his pit stop about 3 laps ago. That tells me he's made his stop for the race, because that was also about 7 seconds there, 7.5. So he is actually behind Jose Sarra, who just pitted. So he's going to end up kind of midfield. Despite his spin on the pace lap, he's kind of still in it for a decent finishing position, so keep Veloso in your mind, I suppose, as this race goes on. Let's see. Will these leaders pit? No! Oh my goodness, Pascucci has sailed on by again. Which means all these guys will too, yeah, wow. They are really going to make this difficult on us, because these lap times are, a minute 40. When we get back around to complete this lap, we're going to have about 11 minutes to go, or less, for some of these guys. We're not going to have much time for driver of the day.
Well, I was actually just getting ready to mention that. Maybe we should start bringing it up now, just before they do hit pit road and everything becomes very, very hectic. I mean, wow, I just can't believe these guys have gone this far, Andrew. This is incredible.
I did not think these guys would be saving this much fuel at this racetrack. I tell you what, if Roman does not pit here, we will absolutely do driver of the day this next lap. So we'll see. The 23 is determining our fate. Typically, I like to do it with about 10 minutes to go in the race, but these guys, wow, this is interesting how far they're going. I don't feel like they're even short shifting or anything. Here's the telemetry for Pascucci. I know it's late in the lap now. Second gear. Let's see, is he going to drop? He should be dropping to first here. Yeah, down to first. He's letting it rev out. Staying in first there at 16. Come on, you gotta be pitting, right?
No, he stays out yet again.
What? No way. Scott Reister, did we get the right fuel settings in here? That's incredible.
So for anybody that's watching, that maybe this is your first race watching us, or if you're a little confused as to why we're confused, usually we see these guys dump in maybe with about 20 to 15 minutes left in the feature race. So to see them go past that, well past that, to almost the final 10 minutes without making their stop is quite a shock to everyone right now. And it doesn't seem like anybody else is trying to make that pit. Everybody else is going as well. So this is, wow, this is incredible.
Well, I said we would go ahead and do driver of the day, Zach. It's that time. Who you got?
Oh, man. You know what? As far as, I got to give it to I'm not going to give my nod to Pascucci, but I do got to give him a nod just because of how well he's driven. He got a really good jump on that start and was able to get up to a good decent start and a gap above everyone else. But I'm going to have to give it to that guy right behind him, Nicholas Rubelar. Started P7 in the feature race, finished second in the heat race, and has been the only one that can really keep pace with Pascucci. He's driven off from Blanat. He's kept pace with everyone else and Pascucci. So my nod for the pro is going to have to be Nicholas Rubelar. Now, as far as Pro-Am, before maybe these guys come down pit road, I'm going to have to give it to Maron. He was outside of it. He was in the middle of that fight for the top three, really, for the Pro-Am, and he was still able to come out on top. You see Antonicelli behind him. He has picked up some time, but I'm going to have to give my nod to Nahil Moron for...
They're still going!
I cannot believe this. I cannot believe... I was trying to go as quickly as I could, so I was stumbling over my words just in case they pit. We're still going, man.
Unbelievable. Hang on.
Well, while Andrew figures out what he's trying to figure out, I believe that those two are probably going to be my best nod with...
Pause. Because I just Googled. I've watched enough Top Gear in my day. They've done some challenges over mountains where thin air has not improved fuel economy, but it does reduce power. It makes the engine run less efficiently. And sure enough, if you Google it, thin air generally does not improve overall fuel mileage. What are we seeing? Well, I don't understand this. But anyways... Top Gear Grand Tour aside. Sure, go ahead.
I do kind of want to point out before you do. We did have a leader come in. Marron has pulled in or had an issue. Antonelli has taken over the Pro-Am lead. So Marron has fallen back to fourth there. He is coming through 2 and 3. Yeah, he did come down pit road. And he took a long time in the box as well compared to the 6-second stop we saw earlier. So, oh man, we're just gonna have to see how this plays out. Sorry to interrupt you there, Andrew.
That's okay. Pascucci, you got to pit this time, right? I would think. If he doesn't,
think so.
Regardless, when we find out what's happening here, the next free moment I have, I'll be making my driver of the day picks.
Unbelievable.
He's coming in, right? No
he
way.
Are
they going to hypermile this and go the whole race? We only have about 4 or 5 laps to go. Okay, Rubelar's in. All right. That makes me feel a little better. How is the leader saving that gas?
That's what I was just about to say. That doesn't make sense how Pascucci's able to keep going.
You know, they say everything is upside down in Australia. Is everything backwards in Mexico?
Man, I've lived close to the border most of my life, so I can't really say that it's too far backwards, but it's proven us wrong right now.
We do have a lot of cars coming in. A lot of the Aston Martins pitting here, and oh dear, Nicholas Rubelar.
Yeah.
A long stop. Was he speeding, maybe?
He must have been, because everybody else has already taken their stop and gone.
Oh my gosh. That is huge to note. A lot of the field pitted that lap, by the way. And they are all back on the racetrack. Roman Pascucci is the exception here, Zach. He has gone on now. This is lap 20 on a 45% fuel limit. This is now 33 minutes of racing on a 45% fuel limit.
Insane.
And it's going to be about 32, or 34 rather, by the time he gets back around. Well, I will not be nominating Pascucci. I'm actually going to go back here to Victor Miranda, who is still up. Let me see here. Currently 8th, started 18th. Well, hang on. It was as high as 5th. Maybe that's what I was seeing. He was up a handful of positions. I saw him up the most of anybody in Pro. That's why I went for him. Victor Miranda coming back through the field. We've kind of been on the lookout for that as of late. So that's what I'm doing for Victor Miranda. And my Pro pick, and down for my Pro-Am pick, honestly, I haven't really figured it out yet. Man, you know what? Antonelli has the lead after the pit stop. That's an easy pick for me.
No, that's fair, because we did see him running down Marron right there before the pit stops. He was not close, but he was gaining a little bit of time now, being able to jump him and being in front of Marron. There he goes. Out of pit road, Pascucci has taken his stop. 5 seconds in the box. 5 seconds.
That next car in the background is Juan Blanett, his teammate. That is second place.
And then
7
just behind
seconds.
them, you see 3rd and 4th coming out right behind them. Look how far down these guys, or excuse me, these far up those two are, Juan Blanett and Pascucci.
Well, Zach, you had already nominated Rubelar, so he is still up for driver of the day. You can still vote for him. That vote is now live over on YouTube. Nicholas Rubelar, Noel Marron, Victor Miranda, and Francesco Antonelli. Those are your options. I think Antonelli is a great pick right here. He is suddenly not only leading Pro-Am, but podium overall. For all the issues we've seen from pro drivers today, this is pretty big. And by the way, Rubelar is still in the pit lane. It's now been 3 minutes nearly. I don't think it was just a speeding penalty unless he decided that was going to be it for him. But he has left that car in the pits, and it seems is done for the day.
Well, I hope everything's okay, just because, again, we are sim racers at the end of the day. We are most of the time at home racing on our sim rig, so I think the only thing that could really uproot a driver from being in the seat during a race is if there is a problem or an issue around the house or around
I have a story to tell.
Okay.
What if your wife's water breaks?
Oh my gosh, are you kidding me?
Monday night in the NORL Retro Cup Series, while leading, Josh Conover's wife's water broke. 39 weeks pregnant. He lives in South New Jersey. It had just snowed over 2 feet. He had to drive his 39-week pregnant and now in labor wife to the hospital after quitting the race from the lead at Atlanta Motor Speedway this past Monday. If you didn't watch that broadcast, I really suggest you go back and do so. Pit Stop TV this past Monday, NORL Retro Cup Series, N-O-R-A. It's like a yellow-orange thumbnail. Never in my days, Zach, have I ever announced that somebody was giving birth. Yet, we did it on Monday.
Well, I hope the delivery and everything went well for him.
She
and that
did
family.
get here
Awesome
okay.
To have.
Yes, baby Jenna did make it.
Okay. That's awesome. That's awesome to hear. Great addition to that family as well. That's awesome to hear.
Well, 3.5 minutes to go, Zach. It's about 2 more laps once we get back around to the stripe. And this is the battle currently between Francesco Antonelli and Noel Moron. And Dino Filippa has actually just rolled over. This is a rare sight. A pro driver has given a spot to a pro-am. He has let Blas Diaz go to try and chase those guys down for pro-am lead. That's teamwork.
That is teamwork. Obviously, I think Dino Filippa knows that points are on the line for some of these guys. We saw how close that Blas Diaz and everyone else was in the pro-am, so I believe he understands that every point counts for those guys. Obviously, every point counts for every driver, but still, with how close those are, to help a teammate out is huge. Obviously, to let Blas Diaz go and gapped Dino Filippa in that time frame. So that's a huge, either team orders or teamwork. Either way, that's huge for that team.
And Roman Pascucci has just gone by the start-finish line. 2 laps to go here at Mexico. Now, Roman is definitely fuel-saving. I think he's taking this advantage he's got on the racetrack and using it to the greatest of his ability. He has lost about 2 seconds since leaving the pit lane. So he is giving up some time, but the car behind is his teammate Juan Blanat. I think he's going to be safe. I think he's doing all right for himself. So nothing too bad there for Pascucci.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, just that fuel saving just a little bit. Maybe, I mean, we did see him, 4 or 5 seconds in the box, so maybe right on the cusp, trying to save a little bit, but he's got plenty of time back to Juan Blanat. Blanat has gained a little bit since then, I believe, but again, I believe that a little bit of fuel saving to get yourself home isn't a bad idea when you've got a 7 to 8 second lead over, but not an 8 to 7 second lead over these two. Noel Moron and Francesco Antonelli still right on top of each other, coming down to what is going to be the white flag right here. The final lap of the race. Moron in striking distance. Jacob Stofko again backwards, having trouble at the end of this race. Re-loops the car trying to get going.
At one point, I thought we were going to be talking about him for driver of the day. Everything
I did as well.
has gone wrong for Jacob Stofko. Here's a look at it, racing with Victor Veloso actually into turn number 1. It is a mega draft out of Veloso in the teal Mercedes back there, following what looks to be Diego Eda down into turn number 1. There's the white flag graphic. Leaders have just taken the white flag, Roman Pascucci that is. Veloso there on the inside. Yeah, I don't know. We'll let it be. Stewards can decide if they need to on that, but we're on the final lap here at Mexico City. There is Roman Pascucci leading the way for the final time around this fantastic racing circuit, by the way, Zach. Have you been converted into a believer here of Mexico City?
Seeing after all the racing and seeing what this track can produce, first and foremost, the fuel. That I think that was a shock to everyone, but just the racing that it's produced, even though it's such a long and such a high-speed track, I think I have yet to turn laps, but just watching it, I have honestly been on the edge of my seat, so I came in with a little bit of skepticism just because of how highly you were touting this track. I could see it. I understand why now.
It's a really fun racetrack. I really enjoy this kind of pseudo stadium, as we've been calling it, the hairpin right here. I really enjoy. For some reason, the lower speeds here, I think, is more fun at Mexico. But Stofko has just pitted, by the way, so he's losing more time. Meanwhile, down the final straightaway, Roman Pascucci on his way to a win here in the North American Racing League. The pros not yet letting these Pro-Ams have any chance at overall glory. We gotta wait at least a week longer, I guess a month longer, until Watkins Glen, exactly a month from today. And out of turn 17, it is Roman Pascucci to the start-finish line. He will win the feature race here at Mexico City. Battle for the race lead, though, and the race win in Pro-Am. Francesco Antonicelli will not back down. He will power off of turn 17, and yes, the 61 will win at Mexico.
See some battles here coming towards the line. You saw one car right on the bumper of another as the rest of the field kind of funnels through here. I believe that, I thought that was the 43. That was his teammate. Some of the issues that we saw at the beginning of this race as the rest of the field funnels out. I'll give you credit, Andrew. This was a fantastic race to watch, and I think if anything, the track produced a lot of good racing. So I will give you that. I think this was a really fun race to watch. So I will give credit to this track. It was a really cool one.
I am excited to see what these guys, well, particularly you guys, can do, rather, in the AM race next week. I think, no offense to the pros and Pro-Ams, but I think the AMs have had some really good competition, maybe even better than what the pros have seen here, as here's Lucas Souza around the final couple of corners, trying to chase down Jacob Stofko. He will not get there. These are the final few positions to wrap up. It'll be Stofko, Souza, and then Correa back here in the Lamborghini to the line to wrap things up. Correa out of Puerto Rico will wrap up in the 16th position in class. That'll be 23rd overall. So that gets it done for us here in Mexico. Of course, the leaders did not have the fuel to keep going and do any celebrating here. So let's get ready then for drivers to join us after the race. Pro and Pro-Am results coming in just a moment. And of course, drivers, if you're listening, please do join promptly. We'll talk to you in just a moment. But Roman Pascucci, boy, what a day here for car 23. Leads 22 of 24 laps here in the feature race. Wins this evening at Mexico City and does it over some great company. Juan Blaine at second place. And how about Francesco Antonicelli? Overall podium for driver 61, albeit 16 seconds back. Still gets the win in Pro-Am over Noel Moron. Bastias podium in class, top 5 overall. Dino Filippo let him go in the late goings to try and take a stab there at the leaders. He couldn't quite get there. Filippo will finish 6th. He had a great recovery drive for himself as well. Turned around in the beginning of this race, got back up here. There is something to be said for Dino for sure today as he tries to right the ship in the season overall. Paulo Goday goes 7th. Victor Miranda, Ralph Benitez, and Josue Ramirez cap off your top 10. I do believe all of our drivers aside for, so 3 of our drivers for driver of the day are in this graphic right here. You can still vote for them. Moron in the 28, Antonicelli in the 61. Of course, your Pro-Am leader, winner in second place. And then Victor Miranda as well, who finishes 8th overall. He gained a whole bunch of spots and will go 8th in overall standing and 4th there in class.
Look at that. You see the 50% of, the top 10 pro versus Pro-Am, 50% pro, 50% Pro-Am. Again, just harping on the fact that these guys, regardless of title, have the speed to contend with each other. But continuing on after the top 10, Jackson Resende, Miguel Colon will be 11th and 12th behind them. Diego Ere and Victor Veloso, 13th, 14th. Jose Sarra, we saw him starting way back there. He's going to come up from 29th all the way up to 15th. Fantastic race for him. He will finish 15th. Just behind him, Scott Kimbrough and Ricardo Delgado will be finishing, almost said starting, will be finishing 16th and 17th. William Oro Silva, again, another big mover, started 33rd, was 6 laps down in the heat, will finish 18th on the lead lap in the feature. Just behind him, Chris Winstone, a fantastic recovery race after we saw a couple slip-ups from him in the heat and also at the start of the feature, jumps back up into the top 20. Fantastic race for him. And rounding out our top 20, Romain Rateau will be finishing 20th.
And back to position 21. How about car 34? Jacob Stofko hangs on to the lead lap there just barely with a 1/100th of a second gap to Lucas Souza for 22nd. Jose Correa finishes 23rd. 24th, we'll find the first car one lap down, and the final two cars to finish in 24th and 25th, Icaro Piccolo and Andy Ray Miller. 25 cars finish here at Mexico City. Nicholas Rubelar, 26th. Fabio Zamperlini, 27th. Pedro Berger, 28th. Angel Ledesma and Hector Alvarez there, 20 laps down in 29th and 30th. And finally, a little further back, Sam Soid, Eduardo Pecorini, Nick DePaula, Marcos Franco, Adam Brockway, and Marcos Saavedra wrap up your field this evening. I do want to mention, by the way, Scott Reister did confirm that we did have full fuel. I just want to make sure we all know that we did have full fuel out there, and by full I mean 45%. So we did have the correct fuel setting. These guys just they had fuel mileage on their side, that's for sure. But also of note, Roman Pascucci will have a teammate talking to us. Sounds like there might be a language barrier there for Roman, so he will have a teammate headed in shortly. I can tell you for now, we do have. Let's go to the Pro-Am winners, Zach. I'll bring in Francesco Antonicelli, who was able to grab the win in Pro-Am. And Francesco, I know this was kind of a wild card race where nobody has really run here in the league before. Obviously, I'm sure you guys have had chances to run here yourselves and certainly test here. But what was it like behind the wheel here at Mexico City this evening?
I really liked. I'm really surprised to be here, to be honest. Not expecting the result. And yeah, I enjoyed the race. I like the track. I'm a bit sorry, to be honest, with my teammate. I had an accident with him on the first race, and yeah, I involved also other cars, so I'm really sorry for that. This is the first thought that I have.
Yeah, we saw the incident there early. I guess obviously you want to give Eduardo maybe some time to cool down, but how do you guys approach that as teammates to build on the next one? Obviously, you were able to go on and win here in the feature, so clearly you guys have pace, so how do you kind of reconcile and get ready for the next one?
Honestly, the only thing that I said to him as well was, I'm really sorry, and yeah, I did a stupid mistake, so it's on me. Then just reset, drink some water, eat something, and focus on the following race.
And the next race for you pros will be Watkins Glen. Now, there is an iRacing build coming up in just a couple of weeks, a big update. It does seem it's targeting GTE or GT Le Mans versus GT3, but are there any concerns for you guys on the GT3 side? Maybe things changing a little bit before we get to Watkins Glen next month.
We will see. We never know with iRacing updates, so we will just wait and see. And yeah, hopefully for the best and pushing as much as possible.
Francesco Antonicelli, a great run this evening. He's up for driver of the day. Not quite leading right now, but hey, Francesco, good run out there. Hopefully we're talking to you again soon.
Thank you very much. Have a nice evening, and thank you for the broadcast.
Glad to have you here. Francesco Antonicelli has been running for a couple of seasons now and has been getting better and better, Zach. Nearly, I say nearly, in the feature race, and nearly getting that win, I'll say. But let's go on down. We don't yet have Roman Pascucci or a teammate, I don't think. I guess technically Blas Diaz is his teammate. Let's go ahead. Let's go to Juan Blanat here. He goes second in pro, and I'll send him your way here, Zach.
Ready. Juan Blanat second in pro, just behind his teammate of Pascucci. Juan, you had a fantastic heat race, a fantastic battle right there with Rubelar. You two were the class of the field, but talk to us a little bit about that start at the beginning of the feature race. Obviously, being does it weigh on your mind when you're the leader of the heat race? You're like, okay, I'm winning the heat, but dang, I'm going to be starting P8 in the feature, or is that just something like it's just a part of the race and I got to get through it?
Yes, I have a good run. I think in the heat I have a good pace, and then in the future I try to race very chill, so to have more points and no incidents, because the race como digo. Sorry, my English it's a little bad. I am
You're all good, buddy.
But yes, in the future I go very chill to save some incidents that because the track was difficult. And then now I save a few liters to the pit stop and go very chill.
I will say, if I can interject
Yeah,
really quick, Juan, if it's easier, if you can, understand the question fine from Zach, you can feel free to answer in Spanish.
Ah, ok. No, sí, o sea, a ver, hice la segunda carrera pensando mucho en el campeonato, en los puntos. La verdad que en el primer hit pude sumar muy bien, más los 2 puntos de pole, así que traté de hacer una carrera súper tranquila y conservadora.
Well, speaking of a little bit on that fuel, we were mentioning a lot of drivers staying out a lot longer for what we were expecting. How exactly were you guys saving after going full bore like that?
I save a little in the straight lines. I think I lift a little and what I say, I go very chill, and so that save a little some liters.
I got, yeah. I mean, it was very impressive to watch you guys, even though still going what looked like 100% and still being able to run as far as you did. Well, Juan, we appreciate you coming up here. A fantastic race for you and the team, really. You guys really showed out today, so a fantastic race. Congratulations on your P2, and we look forward to seeing you here in about a month after after the new iRacing build and after we get to Watkins Glen.
Yes, we have to see that. So thank you. Thank you very much, and congratulations for my teammates, for Roman, Dino, a good points for the team. So thank you, and thanks always to SDR, and that we have a very good drivers.
That's Juan Blanat with a second place effort here on the evening in the feature race. And Zach, we can go on down to one of his teammates, actually, Blas Diaz. Of course, across divisions, these guys have a very large team, and Blas Diaz able to come home with what is a 5th place overall, 3rd place in class. Blas, that was a rough one out there, I think, for a lot of reasons. What was it like, though, for you, of course, starting out front?
Well, that was an incredible tough race. It was extremely hot down here in Argentina, especially in my room, and I actually got pretty dizzy at one point in the long race. So I have to literally survive and pass between the people. Luckily, I get a solid result, so I'm happy about that. Every point matters, really. So, especially with the championship battle I have going on with Noah Moron right now, that is really tight. So we just have to keep pushing, and we are already looking forward to the next race, really.
Yeah, and of course, drop weeks will change the picture, but right now it looks like Noel got some more points on you. So, what are you trying to do to find a racetrack where you can beat him and gain some points back on him? I know we have, the schedule set, obviously, Watkins Glen, Suzuka, VIR, and Road America left to go this season. Are any of those to your liking?
Yeah, some. Maybe Watkins Glen is good for the car, maybe. We need to see. We don't know yet. But I think with the drop races and everything, we are pretty close, though, both of us. Then I don't know who is third right now, but it's a pretty close championship, really competitive.
And I'm curious about something from your point of view, because we saw some intermingling of different classes and whatnot. And I noticed even it looked like Dino kind of let you go late in the race to see if you could go catch Francesco and Noel. So I'm curious on your thoughts of the pro drivers racing you guys that are racing for the lead in Pro-Am. How do you view that as a Pro-Am driver? Is that frustrating? What's that like?
Well, it was the pace depends every race, of course, but Dino let me pass because he had a slowdown right there in the second curve in the first turn, so he let me pass because of that. But then, yeah, the pro drivers have a lot of pace. They are literally aliens driving, so it was pretty tough. Especially also Roman Pascucci, the winner in the second race. Really good pace. I couldn't even follow him in the start of the race, but yeah, it's frustrating a little bit. But I know that in the future I can come up to a pace like that, I think.
Well, Bloss, is good to talk to you. Congratulations. It's been a lot of good runs for you lately, and hopefully we're talking to you again in about a month's time at Watkins Glen.
Thank you very much.
Yes, with another big day here at Mexico City. We were told we might have a representative speaking to us on behalf of Roman Pascucci, but nobody has connected just yet, so we will keep an eye out for that as we close things out here, Zach. But boy, initially, the driver of the day vote was looking like it would go one way, particularly the way of Francesco Antonelli, but he's going to finish third on the vote today and on the racetrack. How about that? It's going to go to Victor Miranda. The fan club showed up for driver 53 all of a sudden, and he is going to take today's driver of the day vote. I think it's warranted, though. Again, look at the positions he was able to gain from 18th up to 8th. He's had some rough times lately, so to see him get back up there, I know it wasn't the position he was going to be looking for by the end of the day. He certainly would like to be further north on the scoring pylon, but Zach, still a good day, I think, for Victor.
Oh, 1,000%. To be able to jump back from that havoc that we had in the heat race for him to again, the havoc that started kind of this feature race, to be able to jump back into the top 5 for the pros, the top 10 overall. I feel like that's a fantastic day overall. So it's good to see him jump back into it, and kind of deserving for the driver of the day for him to be able to get into that conversation. And hey, if you got a fan club, might as well have them support.
Fair enough. That gets it done for Victor Miranda this evening as today's North American Racing League driver of the day. And, you know, as well mentioned, Zach, next up for these guys, for the pros, it's out to Watkins Glen. And that's in a month's time, exactly a month from today. We head out to that track out in New York. And, you know, the BRB Sundance Pro Series was just there. Emerson Arden, who's now in the YouTube chat, he was on for the broadcast for that. That was a fun time at Watkins Glen. I always enjoy Watkins Glen. But we're not doing the same course. We're not on the Cup course there at Watkins Glen when we go back in March. When we go there for the North American Racing League, it's the full boot. You know, it is the full course at Watkins, and that presents some extra challenges. It's an extra mile of pavement, and it's challenging. I've never quite been able to figure out the boot. I definitely prefer the Cup course. That's not just because I'm a smooth brain American who likes stock cars that make big sounds and go very fast. I've never really been able to figure out the boot personally at Watkins Glen. So, Zach, if you're still trying out this AM thing, hopefully you have better luck when we get there on April 2nd.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to Watkins Glen. Obviously, I raced a couple of times with the boot at Watkins Glen, and it is a very unsettling, just because of how quickly the car can get away from you in the boot in and of itself. You're very fast through the first part of the track, but as soon as you get into the boot, you got to slow down a good little bit, and the car gets a little unsettled. So it's every part of the track is a different track, so to say. You've got to pay attention to different things and work with different things. But hey, the next up on the schedule for the amateurs right now is Mexico, and after the racing that we saw here, I'm really excited to see that racing come through, whether it be from a screen, or excuse me, from a broadcast or from a windshield. So I'm really excited to see how that one plays out. But I mean, just the slate of tracks that we got here. Obviously, Mexico up next, New York, Suzuka, Virginia, Road America. What a fantastic what a fantastic look it is to finish out this season for these guys.
These are all world-renowned racing venues. I think they all have global attention on them, and they're all fantastic racetracks. They're all good racetracks to go to. And you know, once upon a time, Zach, I won't lie, I would have scoffed at Spa and Road America being on the schedule this season, but they have proven themselves. Spa has been refreshed, Road America has been repaved. They've both gotten really good at racing lately, so tip of the cap, admittedly. While they might not be my personal favorites, they have definitely become very, very good here on the iRacing.com service. That is for sure. And here's a look at what's upcoming for us once again here at Pit Stop TV. Next up, we have a weekend off. I know I keep saying this. There's an elephant in the room, Zach. Would you like to address it or no?
an elephant in the room, the fact that we have the weekend off, or what this weekend kind of beholds.
I can't say it to myself. I'm not asking for it. I gotta be clear. I can't say it to myself. That doesn't feel right. But we're taking a couple of days away. We're back on Monday.
I'll take it over. I'll take over if need be.
Okay.
All right. Well,
Well, you
for
start
anyone
singing?
well, not yet. For anyone that's not watching, Andrew, or that was watching earlier in the broadcast, Andrew mentioned earlier that we might be recovering from a little bit of purposeful.
Hopefully we're
alcohol
recovering from a hangover. Hopefully.
Just in case y'all don't know, and if any of you want to send your wishes, Andrew's birthday is actually this Saturday, the 28th of February. So we are going to be having a big celebration for Andrew. So I hope that everyone in chat can send him some well wishes before we take off. I'm not gonna sing just yet. It's not your birthday, so I can't sing just yet. But maybe after the fact I will. So I don't know.
Well, we didn't get a chance to embarrass you quite as well, but Zach, happy belated birthday to you, as yours was February the 15th. So it would have actually been right after our last pro broadcast, Indianapolis. So happy birthday to you. We share almost a couple of birthdays here, a birthday a month, I suppose. You're almost 30, buddy. I know you've got a head start on me, but I know it's around the corner. Regardless, what else is around the corner for us? Bristol. I'm excited. The last great Coliseum for the NORL Retro Cup Series. That has been, I think, one of the most exciting series we've ever covered. I know NARL is up there, but NORA is giving it a run for its money. Something about the 2003 NASCAR Cup cars is just fantastic. Throw them around Bristol, it gets even better. I'm excited to see how we do on the short track. 300 laps Monday evening. It's going to be a long one, but exciting one for sure. And then Tuesday, we cap off a great season with the BRB Sundance Pro Series. ARCA cars at Homestead Miami Speedway on March the 3rd. I'm excited for that. Of course, they're crowned a champion there as well. And look at that. Right back here at Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez on Thursday, March 5th, as we go back racing with the AM drivers in a week's time, Zach. A lot of great places to keep up with everything. Pit Stop TV, though.
Oh, 1000%. You could follow us, or excuse me, you can go to our website at pitstoptv.com to get all the latest news and everything going on around all the leagues that we cover. Facebook with Pitstop TV, or how about even Instagram, owned by Facebook, Pits_Stop_TV. Next to that, we got Pitstop TV 1 on TikTok, where we post some of the more bigger, exciting highlights of everything that we broadcast. Just under that, twitch.tv /pit_stop_TV. Obviously right here on YouTube if that's where you're watching, and then on X for anything and all updates that go on around Pit Stop TV and the leagues that we broadcast.
A big thank you, of course, to everybody for tuning in this evening. A big thank you to our partners with the series, beginning, of course, with Muradness on through JS Consulting, Screw Compressor Service Incorporated, and Rocket Designs. And a big thank you to our partners here at the channel, Whiplash SimCams, MXWraps.com, ATVO, Murtis Esports, CC's Business, and the North American Racing League. That will do it for us this evening. I felt like something is weird, Zach. To get the broadcast going, I wasn't really in a rush for once. The end of the broadcast, we're not in a rush to go catch super late models this evening. Now, believe me, I love the Sarah Super Series. I wish we had a race tonight, but it is nice to not have that pressure right now. It's a night off for us, I guess. Not really. It's a night away from a double, but we'll have more late model racing coming your way soon. It feels weird. I think we've done everything. Regardless, that's it for us this evening from Mexico City. It feels weird, Zach. I feel like I'm missing something. I can't place my finger on it. Can you? I just don't feel like the broadcast is over.
Yeah, I don't feel like it's over either.
That's strange. Well, make sure to come back. We've got more racing from Mexico City in a week's time. Until then, join us in March the 2nd. Bristol Motor Speedway. Classic, at this point, weirdly retro NASCAR Cup cars from 2003 on track, emulating the 2005 NASCAR Cup Series season. We'll see you on Monday. Green flag back in the air. Brendan Maddox, Adam Buzzio, the whole field chomping at the bit. Green flag back in the air at Talladega. The Lucky Performance Overtime rules reminding you that if we get back around to the white flag, this race is official. Buzzio with a push from Dyer. Maddox with a push from Hughes. Zach, I think we're going to get there.
I think we will. Coming back around, Buzzio leads the group. Through the tri-oval we go. No caution. Sam Dyer looks to the outside. 3 wide for the race lead. White flag is in the air, presented by Whiplash Sim Cams. Sam Dyer is all by himself on the top line, Andrew. There is nothing that he can do. He's going to start dropping back, and Brendan Maddox is out in front by himself. I do not want to have a gap that big.
We'll see how this one works out. Maddox moves up, now moves down. That checks up the bottom side. Here comes Buzzio. Here comes Camper. Here comes Plord, all on the top side of the racetrack. Maddox now going to try and fight back on the bottom with a push from Buzzio's teammate. That's Hughes down low, and Hughes isn't pushing the lead. Now he gets there from a push from Mason Houseman to the stripe. It's going to be a drag race. Adam Buzzio, Dakota Camper. He's going to look down to the inside, and Camper is going to shove alongside of the 5. Dakota Camper, maybe, no, Buzzio's got to win this season.
Oh my goodness, what a finish.